Okay, so what if I told you that the shampoo bottle sitting in your shower right now could actually be a secret weapon in the fight against climate change? I know. It sounds a little out there, right? But today we're going to dive into the story of a company that's doing just that, one green bottle at a time.
So, to really get what they're all about, we've got to start with the problem they're trying to solve. And believe me, it's a big one.
This right here, this is Greenland. And while it's absolutely beautiful and vast, it's also melting at a really alarming rate. I mean, NASA studies are showing that the ice is disappearing 7 times faster now than it did just a few decades ago. And look, this isn't some distant, abstract problem. This is a global emergency, and it's happening right in front of us. And that brings us to this quote from Stephen Coe, the founder of Oright. He says, "We are the generation that witnesses climate change, and the only one with the ability to change." You see, he didn't look at this crisis and see despair. He saw a call to action. And that mindset right there is what kicked off a total revolution in the beauty industry.
So the big question is, how do you even begin to respond to a crisis that big? Well, for Oright, the answer was to basically throw out the old playbook and completely rethink what a beauty company could even be.
Their mission sounds pretty simple, but it's also incredibly ambitious. They wanted to create green beauty products that are good for people and for the planet. They started out as a professional salon brand in Taiwan, but their vision, man, it took them all the way to the United Nations. It just goes to show you, a small company can have a massive impact if its purpose is crystal clear.
Okay, so having a mission statement is one thing, right? But actually delivering on it, that's a whole different ballgame. So how do they do it? How do they actually bake these huge green ideas into the products we use every single day? This right here is a perfect example of their whole philosophy. On the left, you see coffee grounds, the stuff most of us just toss in the trash without a second thought. And on the right, that's their most famous product, the caffeine shampoo. What they do is they use this special ultrasonic extraction technique to pull all these amazing active ingredients out of that coffee waste. They're literally turning trash into a treasure that makes your hair stronger. How cool is that? And they don't just stop at coffee, not by a long shot. They're looking for value everywhere. So they're taking goji root extracts for skincare. They're using something called sorghum lees, which is basically a waste product from making liquor, and putting it in their hand creams. And the best part? They source this stuff locally in Taiwan whenever they can. That supports local farmers and totally slashes the carbon footprint from shipping ingredients all over the globe.
Okay, now let's talk about the actual bottle. This is huge. They use 100% post-consumer recycled plastic, or PCR, for their bottles and caps. That means they're using plastic that's already been out there in the world, used by people like you and me, and then recycled. And get this, just by doing that for the cap, they cut its carbon footprint by a whopping 84% compared to making a brand new one from scratch. That's incredible. And this whole commitment to packaging, it's all part of this bigger idea they have called the plus minus R philosophy. It's way more than just recycling. It's about reusing things, creating refill packs, reducing waste with that PCR plastic we just talked about, respecting nature with materials like bamboo, and always being ready to respond to new environmental challenges. It's like their guiding star for everything they do. Of course, what's inside the bottle has to be just as clean as the outside, right? So they developed their very own 16-free standard. This is their promise to never use 16 of the most common high-risk chemicals you often find in other cosmetics. And this isn't just meeting the standard, they're going beyond even the super strict EU regulations. That way, you know the products are safe for you, and they're safe for our rivers and oceans too. All right, so we've looked at the product itself, but what about the place where it's all made? Honestly, this is where the Oright story goes from just being impressive to being, well, truly extraordinary. Welcome to the Oright Green headquarters in Taiwan. Yeah, this is not your typical factory. It's actually Asia's first GMP-certified green cosmetics factory. That GMP means it meets the absolute highest standards, and it's designed to blend right in with nature, not pave it over. In fact, there are no walls around the property. It's just completely open to the local environment. And when you go inside, it's just as green. Check out this living wall of plants. It naturally purifies the air, and it helps cool the whole building down. And because of things like this, they barely need to use air conditioning. Get this, in 2023, they only had to run the AC for about 225 hours for the entire year. That's insane. But wait, here's the real kicker. As of 2023, the entire facility, the factory, the offices, everything is powered by 100% renewable energy. They joined this global initiative called RE100, which is a commitment to get to 100% renewable electricity, and they hit that goal 2 years ahead of schedule. Just amazing.
And they have the same mindset about water, treating it like this precious circular resource. So first, they collect rainwater from the roof. Then they reuse the middle water, that's the mineral-rich water that gets filtered out during the purification process, to water their plants. And any wastewater for manufacturing, it goes through this awesome 6-pool natural purification system. And at the very end, that clean water feeds an eco-pond that's become a thriving home for local frogs and fish. It's a totally closed-loop, self-sustaining system.
So, okay, having a green product made in a green factory is already amazing, right? But Oright knew that to make a real difference, a global difference, they had to take their message way beyond their own four walls.
Hey, remember that melting glacier in Greenland we saw at the very beginning? Well, Oright decided they needed to go there. They actually funded and produced a whole documentary called Melting Greenland. They took a team right up to the Arctic to show the entire world what the front lines of climate change actually look like.
And their goal wasn't to make money, it was pure environmental education. So they offered the film free to anyone who wanted to show it. The response was just huge. We're talking over 3,000 companies and 600 schools used it. It was so powerful that it was even screened for world leaders at the big UN climate conference, COP28. And back home in Taiwan, they've been the driving force behind the Earth Hour event for more than a decade. Just last year, in 2023, the event saved 150,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. And if you look at the total since they started, they've helped save over 1.2 million kilowatt hours. That's a ton of energy saved from just this one event each year. All of this dedication, it's earned them a seat at the global table. I mean, they're not just winning Green Beauty Awards anymore. They're being invited to speak at huge international forums like COP28. They're being recognized by major names like Reuters and The Economist. They're seen as true leaders in corporate sustainability, period. And maybe this is the most important part of the whole story. This isn't just some luxury niche brand that only a few people can get. Through big partnerships like with the Phoenix Mart supermarket chain in Taiwan, they're making these truly sustainable, zero-carbon products available to everybody. They're proving that you don't have to make a choice between what's good for you and what's good for the planet. You can have both. And that really brings us to the final thought here. The story of Oright proves that something as simple as everyday as a shampoo bottle can be completely reimagined to fight climate change, to inspire people, and to change an entire industry. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday things in our lives are just sitting there waiting for us to see their potential to change the world?